gentlemen, and what's up, everybody? It is Sunday. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Do you know where your cryptids are?
No. I let mine out for the night.
Told them get out.
Get out, yeah.
They're still in the Montana.
Yeah. Nice.
There's only one Montana song that John Denver sang, and I don't remember the lyrics, so I'm going to save you from all that.
Oh, thank you.
So we're talking about Honda Glacier National Park today because I happen to have lived in Glacier National Park for a short amount of time.
Okay.
And since we're in Montana, and I know that Star, who had more tales to tell us, is busy because it is Easter. So everybody that's on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, you're seeing it on Easter. Spotify, you guys will get it in. You'll have to be listening to this 2 weeks from now because we're ahead of Spotify because we got behind on Spotify. So if you're listening on Spotify, Easter was 2 weeks ago. Hope it was good for y'all. Everybody else that's watching live, hopefully Easter was good for you. But today we're going to talk about Glacier National Park. Beautiful park, beautiful place to go. I was there in 1991 for the summer of 91 and part of summer of 92. I was a cook for 91. I was a chef, professionally trained. For the time I was in for 92, because I pissed off the owner, God rest his soul, he has recently passed. They put me on yard work. So I took all the cooking training that I had and I went to yard work. And needless to say, it didn't work out very well. I mean, hey, you put a Playgirl magazine in the dude's dashboard, open to the centerfold where everybody that's walking past can happen to see it. And then they find out they're going to come back at you somehow, some way. Yes, true story. True story. That's what I did.
Shame on you.
It was a joint effort. That's a story for a whole nother time. Basically, me and the owner of the lodge did not get along. There were other people involved in these shenanigans.
So now I know why it's a haunted national forest park. All right. All your shenanigans. You started it all.
Oh God, I wish I had started it all. So today we're reading a article from the Flathead Beacon. Glacier's Haunted History from October 25th, 2016. It still applies today. The historic buildings of the Glacier National Park are home to a glut of ghoulish ghost stories and spooky accounts of specters that go bump in the night, which for years former Red Bus driver Robert Luck shared with restless young passengers on board his bus tours. Quote, if you have a bunch of kids on your bus, especially unruly ones, they settle down immediately when you begin telling ghost stories. Lucky said, it works every time, unquote. And if Luck's tales could not Set still, a squirming youngster, they had the opposite effect on this contingent of full-grown passengers whose apparitional appetite apparently isn't tampered by age or the fear factor. These stories are not for the faint of heart when you consider that most of them are true, said Luck, who trained Red Bus drivers for a decade prior to his retirement. Now, the Red Bus were these old classic tour buses. They had open tops. They had basically windows. It looked like a very old school bus style, but not a school bus.
Like a touring bus?
Yeah, like Yellowstone has yellow buses. Glacier National Park has red buses. And they travel all over Glacier National Park. It's kind of a big thing. Through the years, some of the scariest tales have been preserved through oral tradition, many of them by the winter caretakers and hotel night clerks at some of the park's great lodges, like Lake McDonald Lodge and Manic Glacier Hotel, where ghostly creaks and groans are creepy enough until one begins pursuing their paranormal histories. Now, I'm going to add that Lake McDonald and Manic Glacier Hotel are two of them that literally you hire caretakers for the whole winter. And it's Montana, so you get a ton of snow. So
Right.
It is The Shining.
Ooh.
You are taking care of a hotel. It's huge. It's normally like a family or a husband and wife that have access to the entire, all the buildings, all the outbuildings, and they just make sure that it all stays up. The money is good if you like to be
alone,
stuck in the middle of nowhere with your significant other, when you only have supply runs once a month, and that's basically you have to take a snowmobile to go out a ways so that the supply truck can come in, and then you can hook up the trailer and tow it back and then load up all the food and everything. It's something that I've always wanted to do, but then at the same time, I'm looking at it going, yeah, I've been to all these lodges that we're going to talk about, and there is no way in hell I would want to be stuck in winter in 10 plus feet of snow in the middle of nowhere where nobody's coming to get you.
Yeah, but if it's a haunted location, that would be like the prime, absolute, yes, let's do this shit.
It would be. It's just, these are some scary places, man. I've been there at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and even when it's touristy season, it's just like, wow, this is really kind of creepy. I don't want to say The Shining, but...
Hey, well, I tell you what, you get that month-long supply, just make sure you get your supply of alcohol while you're at it, okay?
Not a product placement, everybody. We are not paid by anybody.
Nope, not at all.
Not Dr. Pepper, not the whiskey.
Not Coke, yeah.
But if you want to sponsor us, Dr. Pepper and your whiskey brand,
yeah,
we're all for that. We will give a shirt. We'll wear them. All right, so we're going back to the article. So to document the tales, Luck began jotting down their accounts and compile them in a driver's manual for other bus drivers to read and share with passengers, many of whom are eager to hear about Glacier's haunted history. At the Lake McDonald Lodge, a woman dressed in old-time clothes has been spotted by a security man and night auditor many times looking out the lobby windows that open to the lakeside veranda. Guests have heard a couple arguing loudly on a balcony, so there was no one there. And a night auditor felt something run its fingers through her hair one evening, Luck said. Now, Lake McDonald is... backtrack just a little bit. So when they established Glacier National Park as a national park, it was actually the railroad at the time that had built all these lodges and everything. I want to say Great Northern Railroad, but I think I might be off. It wasn't Amtrak. The Amtrak wasn't around. So the railroad brought in a bunch of people to make all the lodges and areas. So the rail line actually goes around the outside of Glacier National Park, and it does stop at the East Glacier and the West Glacier. Well, train station in the East Glacier was considered to be the primary spot, where people coming in from the east would stop first. Then you would get out, and they would have horses that would take you to these remote cabins. So they would take you out into the mountains, and you could go and play cowboys. And the Blackfoot tribe, who was actually still there, would come out and took trains, and they'd meet everybody and do a little ceremony for everybody. I mean, back in the back in the old days, it was really kind of cool. Nowadays, the train station still stops at East Glacier, still stops at West Glacier. I've ridden the Amtrak from Portland over. Beautiful views, but we ain't talking about views. The Lake McDonald Lodge, I'll put in my 2 cents while we're talking about Lake McDonald. So one night we got my roommate's car and we went into Kalispell, Montana. It's 90 miles away. I was living in St. Mary, Montana, on the east side of Glacier at the base of the Going in the Sun Road. So we got 90 miles. We go into Kalispell. And we go and we watch a movie. We do stupid teenager, crap that teenagers do when you got a lot of money, because we got paid great wages. And this was 91, so I had a lot of money to go into Kalispell and just buy stupid crap. So we come back, and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we stop at Lake McDonald Lodge. And this is before I was really ghost hunting. Always been interested in ghosts. But we go into Lake McDonald Lodge because we're tired, and we're like, yeah, we're not going to take the mountain road because it's 2 lanes with 500-foot drop-offs on one side and a cliff on the other side. I'm like, yeah, I am really tired, and I don't think I'm going to be able to drive this. And my other buddy that was with me was like, no, I'm not going to be able to drive it. The guy in the back, I'm not going to say he was high, but he might have been high. And we don't want to trust him with going over a mountain road. So we pulled over Lake McDonald Lodge, and we just kind of just went in the lobby, and we just sat in the hotel concierge came over and asked us what was going on, and we said, oh, well, we work at St. Mary's Lodge, and we're just on our way back, and we're just, trying to wake up a little bit, walk around in the mare, and he's like, oh, yeah, I understand. So as we're sitting in the lobby, and I can't verify if it was a ghost or a guest, but there was a woman walking around on the upper balcony. And we kind of got the little heebie-jeebies, like there was something different about her, but at that time we're not investigators, we're not really doing anything. It's just like, well, this is weird. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and there's some woman just walking around up on a balcony. It was weird. We kind of looked at it. It was always once I became a paranormal investigator, Lake McDonald Lodge is on my list of go back and investigate. So maybe we need to do a glacier trip and hit all these lodges. I know, we had just one more little list. Okay, we're going to go here, and we're going to go here, and we're going to go here, and we're going to go here.
Just make the list bigger. That's all right.
We're going to retire sooner or later.
Absolutely. We're going to need things to go do and investigate and check out.
Exactly. Otherwise, the wives are going to get bored with us and probably kill us.
Well, we can always leave them behind.
Well, we got to go out and do something. All right. So that was my Lake McDonald story. Saw a woman, old-time clothes. I can't really say if it was old-time clothes. It looked more like just a bathrobe. But she was a ways up there, so I can't verify. Was it old-time 40s, 30s, 20s? I can't verify that. I was also running off of, being awake for 33 hours.
Oh, that's all? 33?
Oh, only 33, and the coffee was wearing off. Yeah, so when I could actually drink coffee. So, no, I can't verify that it was somebody, or maybe she just got in an argument with her significant other and decided to go walk around the lobby and the balcony and just cool off a little bit. All right, and we're back to the article. And just outside the park's West Glacier entrance, a resident paranormal prankster nicknamed Bob has earned his keep at the Belden Chalet by playing tricks on guests and hotels employees alike stealing room keys and spooking guests, Luck said. On one occasion, a horrified woman complained to the lobby clerk that her husband, while showering, had turned around and encountered a young girl standing in the shower. He left a short while later, his suitcase packed in a hurry and his hair still wet. Luck can't explain the stories, but he believes them to be true. Quote, "In my lifetime, enough strange things have happened that I think there's something to it," he said. It's not just that we have a vivid imaginations. There have been so many experiences that I cannot explain, other than there really are things that go bump in the night, and not all of them are bad, unquote. A few years ago, author and paranormal investigator Karen Stevens made Luck's stories available to the greater public when she published Glacier Ghost Stories, Eerie Tales, Legends, and Mysteries at Glacier National Park, which I have somewhere in a box upstairs. Otherwise, we'd be reading out of that one. Now, I will say Belton Chalet, I have been there. I know some people that stayed there and told me that whenever I go back to Montana, I need to stay in Belton Chalet. They didn't see a little girl in the shower, but they said a lot of things were moving around the room without them moving it. So, there you go. Stevens, a retired librarian living in Billings, began investigating and collecting ghost stories from her adoptive state beginning in 1978 while she worked as a librarian for Montana State University, Billings. And after that, for 22 years at the Paul Marie Billings Library, which has its own haunted history. Wow, if I would have known they had their own haunted history at a library, I was there in Billings. I did not know these things.
Yeah.
She has also written Haunted Montana, a ghost hunter's guide to haunted places you can visit if you dare, and more Haunted Montana. Haunted Montana Ghost Hunter Guide to haunted places. James, I think we need to make Amazon.com purchase as a guidebook.
I guess so.
Her own foray into frightening encounters dates back to her childhood growing up in a haunted house in Minneapolis, whose invisible occupants set even her hard-headed skeptic of a father on edge. Quote, "Dad was an honest enough scientist that he didn't believe in ghosts. Something happened that he couldn't explain," Stevens said to the otherworldly occurrences. "That is the attitude I've tried to adopt, maintaining some skepticism and trying not to swallow without chewing, so to speak. But I would say that my skepticism has pretty well been worn away," unquote. As a 7-year-old girl, Stevens' father transformed the family's basement into a playroom for the children. A disturbance that didn't sit well with the resident ghosts. Footsteps would plod up the stairs from the basement and stop at the kitchen door. Doorbells would ring, doorknobs would turn, and lights would flick on and off. But despite consulting electricians about faulty wiring, an explanation eluded the family. It sparked a deep curiosity in Stevens, however, which has persisted through her entire adult life. When it comes time to investigate Glacier's haunted history, she dove into the project headfirst, booking rooms at lodges and cabins from one side of the park to the other, interviewing witnesses firsthand, and bearing witness to accounts of her own. On one journey to Glacier National Park to investigate the Lake McDonald Lodge, there were no vacancies in the lodge, so Stevens booked a room at one of the cabins near the lake. She arrived at her cabin, 2A, a ghastly smell permeated the room, and in the middle of the night she heard what sounded like a gunshot. In the morning, all of her books she had arranged on the table had been knocked to the floor. I have been fascinated by ghosts my entire life, and I still don't understand how something that doesn't have a body can turn a doorknob, flip a light switch, or make audible footsteps, she said. I do believe these events. Anyone can make up stories, but I talk to people who actually believe that they have had an unexplained experience. You learn after a while to determine whether someone is embellishing a story. I have no reason to believe a lot of these stories they tell. I have plenty of experiences myself while growing up, so I kind of pick up when something doesn't fit the pattern. So now they're going from the west side of the park, and they're jumping over to the east side.
Right.
Now, there's a lot of places in between the two that are a little more remote. Hopefully they talk about those eventually in this article. At the Many Glacier Hotel, Stevens interviewed a longtime former winter caretaker named Stephen Lautenbach, who spent winters overseeing the old hotel before he died in Florida in 2008 at the age of 37.
Oh, he died young.
Yeah, and then he was the overseer, like Jack Torrance from that one story.
Right.
All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Lautenbach was full of stories about suspected hauntings, and on one occasion he explained to Stevens that he'd been making his rounds when he discovered an empty wine bottle in the hallway. They noticed that the glass doors of the wine case were wide open and one in the slot sat empty. No guests had stayed in the hotel for months, and there were no footprints in the fresh snow outside. Porters asked him if there really were ghosts. He replied, "If I say yes, then I'm crazy. If I say no, then I'm a liar," Stephen said. So does Stephen believe the accounts that she publishes? Most reported hauntings are due to the faulty observation. I would say 90% of the cases are faulty observation. People mistake a bush was rustling at a window for tapping fingertips, he said. But occasionally you get something that I really believe to be genuine. And in Glacier work, there's no shortage of genuine ghost encounters. So that is that for that article. Many Glacier. So got another article. I'll tell about my little bit on Many Glacier. So again, I live not far away from Many Glacier, and my roommate would come in, wake me up, and say, because there was two guys to a room, and he'd wake me up and say, "Here's the keys to my car. Here's $50. Go away for a while." So sometimes you don't really know a good place to go. I mean, there were times that we could get over to Canada before they closed the border, but this one night, the border was closed. We got in the car. I went over to the bar. I rustled up a bunch of people. We said, "Hey, I got a car. I got money. Let's go to Canada." We didn't make it across Canada. The border was closed. So we came back. We went to Many Glacier Hotel, which was just 12 miles away from our lodge. And Many Glacier that's one of those ones that sits way back. So you're taking this road that goes on forever just to get to the lodge. Well, we get there, we park, and we say, what are we going to do? Some of my people are drunk. Some of them are sober. I am sober. So we started walking around the lodge. Again, we're park employees. Well, technically we're park employees, but we're not park employees. St. Mary's Lodge at that time was not part of the park. But all the other hotels knew who we were, so it was like, yeah, we work at St. Mary's. Yeah, come on in. What's going on? Oh, we're coming back from Canada. We're kind of lying. I mean, technically we did come back from Canada. And we're tired, which we really weren't tired. We're just going to go downstairs by the fireplace and just sit for a little while, if that's okay, and kind of wake up a little bit before we continue on. People said, yeah, that's fine. And we go downstairs, and there's a big fireplace. You're looking out over the lake, and there's an older guy sitting down by the fireplace too. And he had been there forever and a day, and he was just a local resident. And we started asking him, what's with this lodge? It's kind of an odd feeling. He says, well, down in this area, there was a murder-suicide. It's one of the winter caretakers, and I'm not making this up. There was a winter caretaker, apparently, that pulled a shining. So what people have heard down in this area is the man still walking around and he yells and he screams. I did not personally witness that. We were only there for a little bit. And then we went and sat out by the waterfall and sang Billy Joel songs until dawn.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I actually had to work at noon. So, yeah, I was up all night being stupid, singing Billy Joel songs, sitting on the side of a 90-foot waterfall. Um, was there a ghost? I don't know. It was one of those places I always like to go back to. Every other time I've been back to Mini Glacier, I go down to the area where the fireplace was, just kind of take a look around. Uh, Unfortunately, I haven't been back since I got all my gear and equipment. So every other time I've been to Montana to even like try to pursue a ghost story, it's just me. No gear, no nothing.
That's when you need to have your to-go bag in the car.
Yeah, well, now I got a to-go bag. Now we're ready.
Yeah.
All right, so I got another article here from the Daily Interlake paper from Sunday, April 20th, 2025. And this is going to go into a little bit more on the Belton Chalet.
Yeah.
So now we're going back from east back over to the west. So apparently there's a... Oh, it is the same book. Glacier National Park called Glacier Ghost Stories. So we have article says Michelle McDowell of Whitefish, a former front desk worker and assistant lodge manager at Belton Chalet, said she experienced firsthand the pranks of Belton Bob, one of the chalet's most well-known spirits. Belton Chalet looks like a grandiose mountains of Glacier National Park from its hillside perch in West Glacier. The historic lodge, built in 1910 by the president of the Great Northern Railway. I was right, Great Northern. I hope I said Great Northern before. Otherwise, I was right. No, you weren't. So if anybody else caught that that's listening in and I said something besides Great Northern, just say it in the comments. It's been a day. I'm having dental work done tomorrow, so it'll be fun. Stopping point is Belton Chalet is a popular stopping point for tourists known for its gourmet restaurant, classic accommodations, and a number of special guests. It is said a few guests overstayed their welcome or simply never checked out. The ghosts of the Belton Chalet have long made... Tammy says, I said it right. Yes, thank you, Tammy. The ghosts of Belton Chalet have long made their presence known to staff and guests at the iconic lodge. The spooky sprites are said to frequent room 37. Loud occasional scream down the hall and misplaced reading glasses and other personal effects for their own entertainment. While former staff say there's no denying the chalet's haunted history, they are quick to note that the resident spirits are friendly tricksters, not deviants at large. They're blamed for rocking chairs moving by themselves, the sound of footsteps out the door, and the sound of bouncing balls in the middle of the night. So well known are the Belton ghosts that their lore filled an entire chapter in Karen Stevens' 2013 book detailing paranormal activity in the park, Glacier Ghost Stories. Former front desk worker and assistant lodge manager, Michelle McDowell, said she had multiple experiences with the chalet's eternal residents over her 7-year tenure. Her most memorable encounter took place during the last year of her employment in the spring of 2017. She was manning the front desk one evening and all the guests had gone down to dinner. She decided to take the opportunity to update the information books in each room with the latest restaurant menus and set about retrieving the volumes. As she made her way in and out of the main lodge room, she clearly recalls using a key since chamber doors didn't lock automatically. When the new pages were in place, McDowell made her way back upstairs to redistribute them. When she got to room 37, she found the door was locked. Remember that, room 37, we need to go.
All right.
There was no way for the door to lock without the key. It's not like it can just slam shut. I looked up and down the hall and said, "Hey, Bob, it's just me," McDowell said. Honestly, I laughed out loud to myself. I'll be darned, he finally got me. So, 37 and Bob.
Right.
Bob is perhaps the most well-known apparition at the lodge and is known for pranking guests by stealing their keys or turning on faucets, and been described by his witnesses as a man wearing a tall hat and coattails. Former manager Noreen Hansen suspects Bob had once traveled to the area by rail A theory bolstered by reports of Bob lurking around the train depot in West Glacier, a mere 3-minute walk from the chalet. We call him Belton Bob because he needed to have a name, Hansen said. We refer to him as a very mischievous ghost. The rooms would be totally empty, nobody even checked into them, and the water would come on either the sink or the shower. There were times like that I would get a chill because I was like, I know you're here. Hansen said she's convinced that Bob, or one of the hotel spirits, got hold of her reading glasses once, and on separate occasions heard what she described as a horrendous blood-curdling scream emanate from the first floor hallway. Paranormal presence that stands out most in her memory isn't Bob, but a little girl. So now we're talking about that little girl again.
Whoa.
A hotel guest was showering when he reportedly turned to see a little girl in there with him. He ran down to the main desk with his wife and belongings, hair still wet, and gave Hansen a key before departing. I went in there and I didn't see anything, Hansen said in the man's room. Another guest, Ryan Belcher, who stayed at the hotel over a year ago, recounted his fun experience in a Google review of the property. Both my girlfriend and I were unable to sleep both nights as we kept hearing footsteps out our door. Plus, we heard a presence in the room a couple times. Sounds like an old man moaning, according to the review. An old man moaning and a little girl in the shower. This is some twisted stuff.
Right. And if you're looking for a place to stay and you read something like that on a review, would you honestly go to that place?
I think that everybody from the Oregon Ghost Conference would be like, you know what? That is where I'm going.
Okay, well, we know everyone at the conference would definitely do that. But I'm talking, the everyday Joe.
Everyday Joe, probably not. While some guests were less than thrilled with their unexpected visitors, others purposely sought out the Belton in hopes of an otherworldly experience. Not a large percentage, but there was a percentage of people looking for that thrill that actually seek out haunted historic hotels, Hansen said. At least one known attempt has been made to usher out the ghostly inhabitants, Hansen said. When the chalet was under renovation in the late 90s, she reports of staff hearing marbles rolling down the stairs and a little girl's laughter. The then owners allegedly hired a member of the Blackfeet tribe to cleanse the lodge of its ghost, she said. But Bob, or whoever he really is, doesn't have any plans to leave. He and the other spirits have a place in the hotel's history and perhaps the present day. I never believed in that stuff before, Hansen said, but there's somebody still living at the Belton. So the Belton Chalet is just a really nice little place. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a cool little place. I didn't really spend a whole lot of time. It's not like the other Grand Lodges that have like huge lobbies. They're just big fireplaces and multi-balconies. And Belton's it's more small. Lake McDonald's pretty big. West Glacier is pretty decent. I mean, West Glacier is kind of a cool little place to be. Once you get to the east side, you got a lot of cabins. Swift Current Lake cabin is just a little, very small building out in the middle of absolute nowhere. I don't really stay in those places because those are grizzly bear country. It's like, all right, well, where can I stay at Swift Current? Well, there's a little campground. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to stay where there's grizzly bears that are going to just come right into camp. They're your security system. At the time, I didn't care. There was a lot of places I slept out in Montana where we're prime grizzly bear country, cougar country, black bear country. And I, at that point, just didn't give a crap. It was not a big deal. So I got another article here, Montana Living, September 26, 2017. They talk about the Belton Chalet, West Glacier. We're just going to glaze over that one because I think we've kind of done that to death. I'll just hit a little snippet here. At times, employees and guests hear someone calling their name, doors slamming, lights swinging for no reason. Or on rare occasions, you'll spot a ghost of one of the little girls who stayed there, or the ambiguous man in the derby hat. To this day, some employees refuse to be in Parks Lodge by themselves or work night shift alone because strange occurrences The best time of activity seems to be off season when the lodge is quiet except for a few restless tourists. So that's Belton Chalet. It's going in a lot of other places. Yeah. So it's just Belton Chalet that they talked about, and then a bunch of places that are not in Glacier. All right. Down the other I'm trying to do all this. Because a lot of these people got really good stuff before I get to St. Mary's. I'm saving St. Mary's, where I used to work and where I used to live. Saving that for the end. All right. So this is from the Harvard Daily Chronicle. And the date on that one is... Where's the date? There is no date.
Oh, nice. It's one of those. Oh, sure.
All right, so yeah, there's no date on this one. But the author, I would like to give you credit, but I don't have a name, I don't have a date. Yeah, no date, no damn name, no date. So the Ghost of Many Glacier Motel. So we'll talk about that one. I knew I had it up here somewhere.
Right.
Ever since Stephen King wrote The Shining, a story about ghosts being the only winter inhabitants of a spooky hotel called the Overlook, along with the caretaker, Jack Nicholson, in the movie, and his family, the rumors persisted that the Many Glacier Hotel in Glacier National Park is haunted. It's not help that the rumor persists, not true that the story was filmed at Many Glacier. Which no, the movie was not filmed at Many Glacier. The beginning of the Shining movie with Jack Nicholson was actually filmed on the east side of Going to the Sun Road. So as the Torrents are driving up at that beginning of the movie, and they're doing all the titles, and you're driving in this little mountain road, that's the Going to the Sun Road.
I was trying to figure out where that was at.
The exterior was at Timberline.
Right.
The interiors were filmed on a soundstage. The beginning of it was filmed in when they're driving in Glacier National Park. The hedge was also done in a studio. Let me see. So we got winter caretakers Kate Richardson and Jason Wilmot had heard all the stories before. Snow conditions left them in a hotel together for 2 months last winter. Glacier Park Incorporated employees who work at the hotel told us of scary experiences they had had, Richardson related. There's a smell of perfume and cigar smoke sometimes in the hallway once the lights turned all red for no reason. And I saw for myself that the contractors who worked in the hotel last fall and this spring were scared. They would turn up their music really loud, unquote. Still, someone had to check the building daily and every single room weekly. So that's, as a hotel caretaker, you have to check the rooms weekly. Make sure that none of the windows are popped in and there's not snow and no damage. You got to check the building every day, make sure, because all the snow, and you're right on the bank of a lake, and it just gets horrible wind coming off of that thing. I remember once we were there, and somebody asked me if I want to go kayaking on that little lake. And I said, no, because that's not kayaking. That's white water. Those waves are going to knock us over in a hurry. Early on, Jason and Kate learned that that was a better done together than alone, checking all the rooms and the thing. And as it went, we went in really fast, checked the rooms, and got out fast, Richardson said. There was a strange feeling in some parts of the hotel, and places where the couple's hair stood up on the back of the necks more than once. When I did go in by myself, I got this weird feeling, Richardson said. There were certain areas that I would go into and just shake. That's when we learned not to go in alone. Then there was that day. So hopefully this is a good one. Quote, it was one of the windy days. It was the day after we had gone through every room in the hotel. We came in and heard piano music. We were panicking, Richardson confided. But just like in a horror movie, we were drawn to trying to find where the music was coming from. All the pianos were in the St. Moritz room downstairs. That's the room I was talking about. I forgot what it was called. The San Moritz room. So we went down there, and at times the music would stop, then it would go again. We went back upstairs, and in the gift shop, we found a cassette playing. Why was the cassette playing? That was the question. My logical mind said it had turned on itself. Maybe the wind did it. Richardson related, and yet the gift shop is an inside room. No wind could get in there. And the gift shop, when I was living there, not in Many Glacier, St. Mary, when I was going up to Many Glacier, the gift shop is actually on the second floor. The San Moritz room is downstairs on lake level. So, yeah, they would be kind of hard for the wind to travel up and over and through and up the staircase and around the corner. But it'd be cool. We would love it. We'd be like, yeah, turn on something else.
Right.
No answer, except the obvious. A haunt was ever found. Last fall and this spring, construction workers were very uneasy about the hotel. Well, there were 5 or 10 of them here this spring, and it snowed hard, and they got snowed in, which, by the way, it's Montana. It is snowed in July. That's something. It's July, 4th of July, one day, July 5th. Why is it snowing?
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, that was wild. I mean, we didn't have fireworks, but I lived there. But it was like we celebrated 4th of July, went to bed, summer weather, had a sunburn from being out hiking all day, woke up the next day, had to go to work at 4 a.m. So I was like, okay, I'll just get up and I'll just go to work and I'm good to go. And open the front door and there's snow everywhere. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It's July. So I go back in, grab my coat, grab my boots, tromp over to the hotel, go in through the employee entrance so I can get ready to go and be a cook all day. And I happened to look at one of the guys who had been there forever and a day, the main chef, and I said, Dale, what's going on, man? There's snow in July? And he goes, oh yeah, it happens. Get over it. So yeah, Many Glacier, a lot of creepy things going on. Oh, and of course my page went away. Where are we at? 43? Well, we could just, we don't have to read normal because we can get right to the nitty gritty. All right, so Many Glacier. Let me see if this story's got anything finished. I just found it. Of course, everything's chaotic. By the way, everybody, we're going Bigfooting next Saturday. So if you don't see a show on Sunday, we got 8. We're in the woods. We're trapped somewhere.
We're being held captive by Bigfoot. Maybe we can pay him to take us away.
Now, for everybody that's wondering, we do have GPS, we have emergency, we have satellite phones. We've got enough stuff that if we were to even just drop down and take a nap somewhere, people are going to know where we are.
We always are, Tammy. Always being safe.
I wouldn't say that we're going to be overly safe. I mean,
we do have some sacrificial lambs, don't we?
Yes, we do. And they're probably watching us going, why do we want to go? the article I want. And then we'll be safe. We're gonna videotape it. That'll be a whole nother. That'll be a whole nother video. It'll probably just a YouTube exclusive, more than likely.
Ooh. We won't do a little podcast on that one after we're done with Montana.
We probably could. Yeah, we can do a podcast. I mean, we can try to get the laptop up and running, maybe show some videos. Sorry, close and give me what I need. Most of these articles for haunted hotels go back to the Belton and the mini Glacier hotels.
Yeah, I was gonna say they all kind of. What I'm looking at, they all go back to that. So
they don't have the boots on the ground with St. Mary like I do.
What do we have here?
All right, so we're going to get into St. Mary to round out the whole night. Eric the Great, hello. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you're enjoying it. I mean, it's chaotic as it always is. Everything goes as planned. All right, so we got to backtrack. Let's see.
Eric, the Stanley is fantastic. I've been there 4 or 5 times. Love it. And I'm past you for going back.
Yes, I think we both. Well, I'm due to go. You're due to go back. And we already discussed the Stanley and a couple past episodes when we were tackling Colorado. So, St. Mary, Montana. Basically was bought by a man named Hugh Black. He built a lodge, a gas station, basically got into the Glacier National Park system, but he was never part of the park. He bought the property as it was going in and said, I'm going to be here, and that way I get the customers. And he was very, very cutthroat. Later on, after a while, his son took it over. We discussed his son a little bit before, but we never got along. His name was Rocky. He recently passed. He was a nice guy. We just didn't see eye to eye in 91 when I lived there. Now, when the season first started, there was 30 of us that were actually staying in the lodge. We had to unboard the entire place because they boarded up, from the bottom windows all the way to the top with, heavy sheets of plywood just so the snow wouldn't cave in anything, the winds wouldn't wreck anything. So the first 2 months of my employment with St. Mary was cleaning everything out. So, like the deep freezers, we had to go through. They still had a lot of salmon and whitefish and beef and steaks, and go through and go, okay, well, anything with a green sticker needs to go out. Everything with these other color-coded stickers should be fine. That took 3 weeks of me in a deep freezer all day, every day. Then we had people working outside the building. Well, while there's 30 of us there, they opened up the downstairs pub so we could just go and just kind of cut loose at night. Well, it not quite a shining moment, but it was very isolated because I didn't have a car there, and the main road through the park was closed, and there was a lot of snow on the outside of the road, so we were kind of stuck there for 2 months. Well, one night I'm reading The Shining downstairs in my room because I'm in the basement where they put all of us guys until we officially opened. Doors open, one light's on. My roommate's at the pub. I didn't want to go to the pub. And as I'm reading the book, and I'm sure our skeptic buddy would probably say, well, you're reading a book about a haunted hotel and caretakers while you're there as technically a caretaker, so you're probably reading in. But what I see at that point is I look up, I'm drawn by movement by my door, and it's an older gentleman, and he's walking down the hallway towards the pub. So I put down my book. I go over, I look down, I don't see him. And it's just a hallway that goes down to the pub, and then there's a staircase that goes upstairs. Here's the funny part about it. So I look in the pub, I don't see an old man. I go upstairs, where I really had no business being, because I'm in the kitchen area, the kitchen's downstairs. Everything else is the main gift shop, the lobby, the bar, the restaurant are upstairs. So I go flying up the staircase. Everything's dark. I don't have a flashlight. This is pre-cell phone, so I don't even have a cell phone light. There ain't no cell phones. And this is the funny part, is I come up the staircase and I see what looks like an old man, an old miner, sitting on the bench. So I walk up and go, hey, were you downstairs a little bit ago? Guy's not moving. And I walk over and I go to jostle his shoulder. It's a statue.
Oh my God. You're talking to a statue.
I was talking to a statue at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like I said, I never went upstairs. My business was always downstairs. So as the season progressed, they were unpacking more and more stuff. They even have the taxidermy body of a bear that had gone on a grizzly bear that had gone on a killing spree in Glacier. It's actually, you suspended summers in St. Mary's lobby area. So when you walked in the main lobby, looked over, here's a big bear that had killed 12 people. This was back in the 30s when it killed it, so it was a while ago. So there was a figure walking around, middle of summertime. They've moved all of us guys. There was girls' dorms, guys' dorms, and then there was the smack shop. That's where I lived, was the smack shop. There were 4 rooms, 2 guys per room. And this is other funny stories about that are non-ghost related, like us setting the hillside across the highway on fire. Was there alcohol involved? Well, maybe there was. It was 4th of July. Okay, there was alcohol involved. Lots of alcohol. But anyway, so we're going to ghosts. So it was July 10th. Snow's already come and gone again in July. I'm getting a little stir crazy because I'm working triple shifts. And it was the one day I only had the morning shift to cook breakfast for the restaurant. And I came back and I said, you know what, I'm going to go for a walk. I haven't been able to do any hikes. I haven't been able to do any walks for a month. I got to get out. I've been working triple shifts 7 days a week. I got to go for a walk. Well, I go out. I go up on the hillside a little bit. I come across one of my coworkers. I'm talking to her for a little bit. Hey, what's going on? Yada, yada, yada. She's getting some sun. And I look across the hill, and there's that old man again with his wide brim hat, and he's just standing on the hill overlooking the lodge. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go talk to this guy. He's standing there. I can see him. I talk to my friend. I say, hey, Sherry, you see him, right? And she goes, yeah, he's been standing there for a while. And I'm like, has he moved? Is he a statue? Because she knew my statue. She knew me and the statue had happened.
I was going to ask you if it was a statue.
Well, that's the thing. So there's a little trail that's barely used. It looks like a deer trail from the spot that she was sitting on, which was an overlook. And I said, do you want to go with me? She goes, no, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to continue sunbathing. You know, just call out before you get back. I might be indecent. All right. So I start walking up, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go figure out. There's that guy again. Well, the trail kind of goes up a little ways, and it curves around, and it comes down a little bit, then comes back up to where he's standing. I lose sight of him as I'm doing the little switchbacks and everything. And as I get to the very top, where he was standing, the trail ends. And at that location is a headstone.
No.
For Hugh Black, the man who started the entire thing.
No.
Yes, it was this headstone.
So
his final wish was to be buried on the hill, overlooking his property, so he can keep an eye on the place.
Oh, hell no.
And it wasn't just me that had seen him standing on the hillside. The ladies' dorm could see it. The snack shop could see it. One full moon night when we had the northern lights always lit up the sky, everybody walked out of the bar. 3 of us were sober. We looked up on the hillside, and where that headstone is, we saw a man with a wide brim hat looking out over the valley. So that was kind of a cool thing. Now, that's one of the things I would love to go back and do is take equipment, take it to go bag, go back up, because everybody had seen him standing up there. Some people would admit it and say, yeah, there's a man with a wide brim, like old style. It's not really a fedora. It's not really a cowboy hat. It's not really a vaquero style. It's just a wider brim, and there are pictures of him wearing a wider brim hat. So, I mean, a lot of people had seen him. And then I went back in 92 before I got fired and sent back home for pissing off the boss yet again. I had talked to some other people that had been there, living up there that wintertime, and they said, yeah, you look up on the hill and you can see Hugh overlooking everything. Even in the dead of winter, he's sitting up there and he's got like a blue and black flannel shirt on, suspenders, and like old style Levi's, like blue jeans type of things. You know? Mm-hmm. Kind of looks like an old miner 49er.
Wow.
So that was my encounters with St. Mary's. I should have been paying attention and giving this lady all that information. As for the lodge itself, I mean, there was your things would move, things would break, kind of like at the Klondike, where bottles and glasses get busted if you don't leave out things. It wasn't shot glasses so much as it was whiskey glasses getting busted. And then somebody got yelled at and said, well, you're supposed to do this at the end of the night. And that was one of my roommates who said, yeah, I have to leave out a shot of, I don't even remember what it was that he had to sit out, but it wasn't really a whiskey. It was just some other type of alcoholic drink that he had just put in a whiskey glass and set it off to the side, and then we'll take care of it in the morning. So, don't really know about that one.
Damn, you got a lot of good stories, man. I wish I had that kind of good stuff happening to me.
Well, with St. Mary's, I was always going back, and I wish I could have actually made peace with Rocky, the owner that I always fought with, besides throwing a Playgirl into his dashboard. And there were other things, like after I got fired in 92 and I started working for the airlines, I could fly back to Montana for free. So several times over the summer for a lot of years, I would fly back to St. Mary, rent a car, go to the restaurant, which was very, 4 or 5 star.
Uh-huh.
having worked there as a chef, I knew what table Rocky's was. He always ate at the same place.
Did you leave a playgirl there every time?
No, I always requested, is table 13 open? Because his table was 14. He always chose table 14 in the front window. So I always said, I would walk in and go, can I have table 13 in the center by the windows? That way, because Rocky was always a man of habit. He would always sit on the other side. His wife would sit on this side. So I would sit on this side of my booth while my companion sat back to back with his wife. So Rocky would have to stare at me while eating. Because he couldn't get rid of me because I was a paying customer.
Oh, he could have still got rid of you. He could have just kicked your ass out.
Well, the dinners were costing us $120 a pop, so.
Okay, fair enough.
He likes his money. That's the thing. We paid our bills. We didn't make commotion. We didn't do anything.
You just sat there just to harass him. You didn't give him anything other than that. I was hoping there'd be a little more juice to that.
No, it was just harassment.
Just pure harassment.
It was just pure, straight up harassment.
You should have, like I said, you should have left a little playgirl on his table or his car again, just to get his goat, see if he can just, like, who did that, you know.
I'll tell the playgirl story real fast, and then we'll cut it out for the night. So, as a chef, sometimes I'd have to go up to the grocery store to grab supplies to bring back. Well, one of the employees up there had gotten into a huge fight with Rocky, knew that I didn't like Rocky, because everything I cooked was never good enough for Rocky. Everything was always bad, even though we got I never got a bad review from a customer in my time being a chef. But Rocky was always just hammering me about this is wrong and that's wrong. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm getting good reviews back. People were coming back saying this was really good. So I'd gone up to get some vegetables from the grocery store to come back so we can get ready for the night shift.
Mm-hmm.
The teller, Andrew, I've got a bucket, I got the stuff, I show him, hey, can you mark this out of inventory? I got to take it down to the kitchen. He grabs a Playgirl from behind the counter where they kept all the cigars and the Playboys and the Playgirls and the Hustlers. He grabs a Playgirl, puts it in my bucket of vegetables. I'm like, dude. He goes, no, you have to walk past his car. The top is down, it's unlocked. Just take it, throw it on the dash. He's parked right in front of the entrance. Everybody has to walk past this car. And I'm like, are you sure you want me to do this? He goes, you have issues with them. I have issues with them. He goes, I'll take the fall. Anybody says anything, I'll take the fall. He's like, I'm getting fired anyway. What do I care? So I took off my work shirt. I covered the bucket because I actually did get stopped by the girl I was dating. She was walking around and she stopped and wanted to talk to me. And I'm like, yeah, there's nothing in the bucket but potatoes and tomatoes and some other fruits and veggies and stuff that we need for the kitchen. Oh, what can I see? No, you don't want to see. Don't want to see them. Walked past his car, just casually pulled it out, slapped it up against the dashboard so it just landed perfectly. Put my shirt back on, went in, gave the fruits and the vegetables to the head chef. We proceeded to cut them up. I had just that Joker grin, and he's like, what'd you do, Doc? I didn't do anything. So the boss comes downstairs, gets in his car. There's a lot of screaming and yelling. He marches up to the supermarket. Andrew took the fall for me. Said, yeah, I did it. Andrew went home. And before Andrew left, he looked at me and said, be sure to keep the shenanigans going. He deserves it. Never did anything worse than that. That was about the worst shenanigan I ever did. But no. Anyway, so there you go. There's the Playgirl story on the dashboard.
Nice.
All right, so everybody, thanks for tuning in. This has been Haunted Glacier National Park. We don't know what we're doing next week. So stay tuned. I'll have it on one of the pages, and we'll decide next week what we're going to do. Everybody, we are out. James, got any closing remarks?
I got none. Just keep your cryptids close and tight and hug them all night.
That's not your tagline. You got to say it every single time.
Oh no! I better write that shit down then.
Yeah, you better write it down right now because you're gonna have to say it every single time now. Way to go!
Great.
I've got the where. Do you know where your cryptids are? And you got that.
Oh man, I need a bed.
It's a good thing this is recorded.
Right.
All right, everybody. We gone. We out. See ya.
Bye.